Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. You are tuned into Inspire FM 105.1 FM. It's Friday, 13th of October, and the time has now just gone 10 o'clock. Welcome to Mother's Planet, a show where there is always something to talk about in a productive and beneficial way. I'm your host, Neelum, and joining me in the studio this morning is my guest, Mohammed Rahman, who I will formally introduce a little later in the show. But first, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Jazakallah for having me.
No, thank you for your time this morning. Mohammed, how's the week been?
It's been good until today. The weather, as usual, the British weather, isn't it?
Yes, it's kicked in. I know. I was listening to my Alexa this morning, and she said to me that it's a yellow warning. So whatever that means, we have a yellow warning for rain up until tomorrow, I think midday. So that's going to be interesting. Or was it midnight? I don't know, but it's a yellow warning. So yes, we have got rain, lots of it this week. And I guess we've been quite lucky because we had potentially a heat wave. Did you feel the heat wave?
Yeah, it was nice weather.
It was
nice.
Surprising
to have that.
Yeah, it was quite nice to have that in October. And I do miss it. So what kind of season guy are you? Are you winter guy, summer guy?
I prefer spring, so it's not too hot, not too cold.
Okay.
In the middle.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, you know what? I was probably in the same boat as yourself, but I think over the time and over the years, I prefer the heat now, especially now as it's getting colder. I'm not liking it. I find that winter. I hibernate a little bit, so I'm eating and excessively, and so yeah, I think I prefer the summer because it's just hot and it's too hot to eat, so you can starve and you're okay. But in the winter, you just want to eat lots, and yeah, I've started my baking again, and which brings me to a couple of days ago, my youngest at her nursery had culture day, and so they asked to bring something in. So I was going to cheat and just use like pre-made stuff and chuck them in the air fryer and just send that in. And I thought, no, I've got to be the good mum and make something from scratch. So I made some pakoras, which I haven't actually used a frying pan in a really long time. I use my air fryer. And so to take out my frying pan and deep fry something, the kids were like, wow, what's that smell? So I had to try and keep hands off it. So yeah, I made fresh pakoras, but let's not tell Tariq because I didn't bring any into the studio. So that's one of his favorites, I believe. So yeah, I know I'm if he's listening in, he's probably going to actually ask me to make some now. But that's what I mean. That's what winter does. It makes you pull out the frying pan and you want to eat all the things that you shouldn't be eating. So yeah, I don't think I'm looking forward to that. And I do miss the heat where I could just get the washing out. It's a real mummy thing, but I like getting my washing out and air dried on the washing line. So I'm pretty sure I'm not alone. So I'm sure there's many listeners out there that have tuned in. Tariq's just sent in an angry face. So there you go. The pakoras are not coming his way. Sorry, Tariq. So yes, we are actually going to be anticipating darker days now. The sun's gone, so it's going to start. I think the clocks change in a couple of weeks' time as well.
End of October, yes.
So that's gonna. Do you like that? Do you feel like you've gained an hour?
Is it losing an hour?
I think we're gaining an hour. So we're going back. The clocks go back in the winter and they go forward.
It doesn't feel like you're gaining though, does it?
No, it doesn't. I just think it just feels like it's dark all the time. You're going to wake up when it's dark and you're coming back from work or the school run even. At 4 o'clock it'll be dark. So I'm not sure I'm looking forward to those days. But listeners, we are live on air, reaching out to all our listeners in Luton and surrounding areas through the airwaves at Inspire FM 105.1 FM. You can also connect to the show via TuneIn through Inspire FM's webpage. And you can also listen to us on your smartphones where you can download the Inspire app. So you've really got no excuse to not listen in this morning. We are also streaming live on the Facebook page where you can leave a thumbs up, or you must leave a thumbs up, and also any comments or questions around today's topic as well. I am taking in WhatsApp or text messages on the studio number 07779 481 822. Now, this morning, my guest and I will be talking about No Barriers Here, which is a workshop that's been organised through Keech Hospice. But before we get talking about this and a bit more about Mohammed's role in Keech Hospice, can I please get you to introduce yourself to the listeners?
Sure. My name is Mohammed Rahman. So I'm Luton born and raised. I went to a boarding school for about 7 years.
Wow,
I did known as Alim class, but it's equivalent to BA in Islamic Sciences, Arabic language and literature. Thereafter, I went to a normal university. I went to Warwick and SOAS, where I recently completed my master's. During that time, I've also been an imam part-time. I've been associated with Berry Park Jamia Mosque and Zuhri Academy. Currently still with Zuhri on volunteer basis, so whenever they need me. I'm a chaplain at Stoke Mandeville Hospital, which is in Aylesbury, and a community connector at Keech Hospice Care.
Wow, so mashallah, you are a man with many talents there as well. Alhamdulillah. I'm going to go back to ask you the boarding school. I didn't know that about yourself. So how was that? Was that local, or did you?
No, so I completed my hifz at the age of 16 locally.
Okay.
Then I went to do revision and I went on to the BA, and that was in Blackburn.
Wow.
Blackburn, yeah.
Wow, mashallah.
But it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
Best experience in my life.
Yes.
Or one of my best experiences in my life.
I guess that gave you all the independent skills that you needed to learn, because, you haven't got mum at home. So you had to fend for yourself a little bit.
Definitely, especially going 13 weeks without coming home.
Wow. Yeah.
That's how long the term was.
Wow, mashallah. And look at you today. So, that's interesting. So, community connector. I think those that have tuned in this morning, welcome to the show. I think they probably would like to know a little bit about what a community connector is, and what your part is, and, why is there a need for this?
Okay, sure. First, I'm going to mention how this role came up, if that's okay. So it was through a research program conducted by University of Bedfordshire. It was funded by National Institute for Health Research. So their objective was understanding the community needs, what culturally appropriate services are, improving communication between the service providers and the ethnic communities, different people's priorities approaching death, the existing end-of-life care provided by informal carers and faith communities, and how they relate to institutional services, all elements that make a good death for different communities, and the fear that individuals may have regarding this, and the impact of the terminology that we use for end-of-life, the assumptions, the misconceptions, the symptom controls, all these things. And that made the community connector role. They saw that they needed someone to understand all these objectives. So my role is to engage and sustain relationships with the communities in Luton, Bedfordshire, Hertfordshire, Milton Keynes. So it's broad
it's quite wide
community,
yeah.
So, and holding conversations about, planning for ill health, advanced care planning, death, dying, loss, bereavement, all these things, and providing access to and knowledge about Keech Hospice care and the services that we can provide, and critically also listening to individuals and those with lived experience and bringing those learning back to the hospice so we can tailor our needs and support and care for those individuals.
Yeah, so I guess, it's a bit of ignorance from my side as well. I mean, I always associated Keech Hospice to be, a Christian charity or something that's not interfaith. So I guess your role is to try and demystify that and eliminate people's illusions of Keech not being that. How I'm keen to find out how you came. I mean, mashallah, you say you worked at the mosques and you have close connections with the mosque. So I'm interested to learn how you got into being the community connector and what it was from yourself that you felt that actually this is something that is much needed.
Yeah, sure. So myself was also ignorant about Keech and the term of hospice, what it is and what do they provide. So it was during Ramadan in Zuhri. So an ambassador, Mushtaq Koyes, he came and they were doing fundraising for this very post, and they were
Okay.
explaining Keech and what it does, what it provides for the community, and why is there a need, and that got me intrigued. So that's when I started, educating myself, finding out more, and then I wanted to be that bridge between the gap of the community and the hospice.
Mashallah, yeah. And so how long have you been doing this role now?
So it's coming up to a year.
Mashallah, okay. So I think the term hospice is something that throws us all off guard. And can you talk a little bit about what Keech Hospice actually is and what the term hospice means? Is this a costly service and what it is that Keech actually offers?
Okay, so hospice care is a type of care that aims to provide quality of life to those individuals who have been diagnosed with terminally long, incurable illnesses, long-term illnesses. So it provides compassionate care to those individuals, to the families of those individuals affected by it. It provides that care and support from the moment they're diagnosed all the way till however long they may need that support. And that support is also for those loved ones, even after the demise of the patients. And that care is based on dignity, respect, and wishes of the person who is ill. The team at the hospice consists of doctors, nurses, healthcare assistants, social workers, therapists, counselors, chaplains, trained volunteers, education team. The services that we provide, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, complementary therapies, such as massages, rehabilitation, respite care, which is those patients that want to come into the hospice and the loved ones take a break from caring for those for 1-2 days, and we can take over for a little while. And all of these services cost Keech, us, £7 million per year. 30% of it is covered through NHS, but the remaining 70% comes from the generosity of our supporters and the community. But regardless of this £7 million a year, everything that I have mentioned is completely free for the communities. And it is so easy to access these services that you can do self-referral. So there's a form that you fill out. We made it even more easier that if you find it difficult to fill out the form, especially those who English is not their first language, you can call us up and we'll help you with that.
Wow, mashallah. So I'm just going to run a scenario. A young lady has her mother that's got something like dementia. So, and it's deteriorating. So she's getting worse and worse. So she's not remembering who she is, who she lives with, but the children, because in the South Asian community, it's our duty. And, we want to care for our parents just like they did when we were young. But it's an exhausting process. And truth be told, we're not knowledgeable in the field. And you've just mentioned in the hospice, there is a team of people that can support. So how would somebody like that wants to still have their mum live with them, but they just need that time out to just maybe get the right support for their parents? How do you tackle stuff like that?
So what I've noticed is from the South Asian community, Bangladesh, Pakistani, and I'm from that community, it's a duty, rather it's an honor to take care, especially of our elders. So we're not here to take that away. Rather, we're going to assist you in any way possible. So your values, your traditions, your beliefs are going to be at the center of the care that we're going to provide for you, and the support, the care for the patient and the support for the loved ones. And that could be anything. We can come out to you and provide information or knowledge or educate you, whatever it may be.
Wow,
we're going to try a way to find it.
Mashallah. So I think that's the key thing here. Many people don't know about this service, and B, I think people are worried about, well, I don't want to just hand my parent over or my loved one over. I still want autonomy. I still want to have that care. It's my duty and my rights. So it's nice to know that you work with them, and that is still a balance. So I think the term hospice, I just wanted to go back to that question there about what a hospice is. Is it a hospital? Is it a space? What's the grounds? Where do if I were to say, okay, this is somebody that's terminally ill and they need somebody to take care of them 24 hours, what happens to that kind of person? Where do they go? Does Keech provide different places? What are the hospice? I don't know if my question's very clear.
So we provide free specialist care for adults and children in Luton, Bedfordshire, Hertfordshire, Milton Keynes, with living with the life-limiting illnesses. So it could be where the patient needs to come in and needs that 24-hour care service. We provide that. It could be that the loved ones taking care of the patient, they need some support, emotional support, or information on how to, fill out forms, or even a will, for example. They want to leave a will behind. We can provide that service for free.
Okay, well, that's good to know as well. And I guess Keech has their own hubs around the town, or is there a central hub that people would come to for this kind of service?
So the central hub is Birmingham Lane.
Okay.
So that's where the hospice is based.
Okay.
And we've recently acquired Bedford Daycare Hospice. So that's under Keech as well. So those living in Bedfordshire and Bedford, they can also use that facility. I think hubs you're referring to are probably the shops that we have. So they're more for fundraising. But they still will provide information or contact details that you may need.
Okay, that's good to know as well. So listeners, if you have just tuned in this morning, I am joined by Brother Mohammed Rahman this morning from Keech Hospice, who is a community connector, talking a bit about his role and how he is trying to build that barrier or bridge that gap between the community and the services that Keech offers. Now, I am having a system update, but it looks like it's 90% there. So hopefully I will be able to read out any text messages that are coming through to the studio number. So that is 07779 481 822. Do send in your messages or any questions that you have for my guest this morning. So I guess you've not quite completed a year, but you've probably faced quite a few challenges in your role. So, what's been the difficult aspect of your role, or what have you found most challenging so far?
For me personally, it's all the education and understanding what Keech is. I had to absorb all of that first before going out into the community and promoting us, Keech Hospice Care. So that was, big challenge for myself. And also, generally with the South Asian community, there's hierarchies. So they generally listen to someone elderly within the family, or even in the mosque imam, for example, they will listen to him. So our goal or aim was to reach those individuals first.
Okay.
So if we had those individuals, those key members of the South Asian community, understanding Keech and what we do, then automatically it will trickle down and it would make my job a bit easier. If that makes sense.
Yes.
So it's reaching out to all those key members.
Yes.
And we're getting there. It's a ongoing work, and inshallah we will get there.
Yeah. And so do you have close connections with the mosques? Are you running awareness talks in the mosque around this?
So at the moment we haven't gone into mosques.
Okay.
Rather we have had LCM, Luton Council of Mosques, which covers, if I'm not mistaken, about 23 mosques in Luton. Okay. So we had the secretary of that come. So we had our first Asian tour, first ever Asian tour in Keech Hospice Care, so they can come and see exactly what we do and what we provide, and the facilities that are available for the community, which are absolutely free. Wow. So we had about 15 community members, from councillors to teachers to school governors, imams, community leaders come in. So that was our first step, and we're going to continue doing that. So we have one coming up towards the end of November as well.
Okay.
So inshallah, that will also be
Yeah,
a success. Yeah. So we're just going to
inshallah.
continue like that. And then whatever the community needs. So if they require me to go into these mosque setups or community centers or schools or colleges, we're more than happy to come and have those conversations and facilitate those conversations.
It's quite a difficult topic to discuss because I'm intrigued about how you handle this because, you know, when I first knew that I was going to be interviewing you this morning, I thought it was going to be quite a morbid topic, really, because I just thought, you know, we all know ultimately it's temporarily, this life. It's not, we're not here forever, but we don't think about it, and we don't. So how do you? I mean, you know, I would find that an extremely hard challenge myself, to go and just be that constant reminder to the community that, look, you know, you will need potentially at some point in your life to think about death, and you will need to think about how you want this care, and what, you know, how do you handle that? How do you don't have to be cold, but how, you know, did you have to train yourself, or is it something that came to you naturally?
I think it's interlinked with my belief being a Muslim.
Okay.
I think I found that easier. So, you know, death is not the opposite of life, rather it is part of life. That's how I look at it. And, you know, understanding the concept of death Islamically, which, you know, majority of the South Asian in the Bangladeshi and Pakistani community are, it makes it easier having this conversation, because at the back of the head, they do know there's death. They know they have to return, and all these points. It's just making those points come a bit more forward and, you know, tackling them. And the care that we want to provide is holistic care. So with the community, they know there's death, and, you know, you have to do the janazah prayer, the ghusl, the burial. They all know that. But we're trying to say there's other elements to it. So, you know, yes, the arrangements there, you know, the burial, the costs, who to lead the prayer, you know, even when the person is towards the final stages, where does that person want to be? Do they want to be in a hospital? Do they want to be in a hospice? Do they want to be at home? And after that, do they want to be sent back home to be buried? Do they really want that? You know, there's the cultural aspects of it as well. I'm going to give an example actually from being a chaplain. So at Stoke Mandeville Hospital. So I received a call from a Muslim female, and her child was about to pass away. She wanted to give the ghusl to the child. But then there was the cultural clash that the males were only going to give it. So, you know, having those conversations before that scenario would have been better. So everyone would have been prepared. You know, the spiritual and religious aspects to it, where the patient wants to ask for forgiveness for certain individuals, maybe, clean heart, someone maybe knowledgeable present in what to do exactly, or they know what to do. So having that knowledge prior. Then you've got the clinical aspects as well. So do you do the DNA or not? The ethical aspects to it, Islamic aspects to it. Is that okay to do? And then you've got the emotional aspects.
Yeah.
Are you prepared for it?
Well,
so all of these points we have to consider.
One there, the emotional one. For me, I would think that, you know, how to bring up that topic, and I think that's Masha, very admirable from your side to say that, you know, yes, your faith is your strength here, because, you know, but the emotional aspect, how, you know, I'm sure you've had people say, go away, don't want to talk about it. Just, you know, has there been that, or are people quite accepting to this and say, yeah, actually, you know, let's have this discussion?
A bit of both. So you have those that, you know, intrigued when I mention all these points.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what, you're right, actually.
Yeah.
And then you also have those that are like, nah, I don't want to talk about it now.
Yeah.
But you carry on, because every moment or every action that you do I take it as a positive. So positive in terms of we achieving the goal or aim, or positives that learning points I take back and how to tackle these taboos or myths better.
So I guess in this, your ultimate goal as such is to ensure that people have their wishes of how they wish to die and what happens to them afterwards is honoured. Is this?
Yes,
is
so
this...
their values, their traditions, their beliefs will be at the center of the care and support that we provide.
Yes.
So we want to be, and we are a hospice for all, and we want to make that difference where it matters the most.
So there you go, listeners. If you have just tuned in, where have you been? We are going to be going over to a short break shortly, but I believe because my computer is uploading, I'm not sure if the adverts are going to kick in just yet. But if you have just tuned in, I have Mohammed Rahman here with me this morning from Keech Hospice, and we are talking about the services that they provide and his role in Keech Hospice. So if you do have any questions, my system is uploaded now. I am able to take those questions or any views that you would like to share around today's topic on 0779 481 822. I should know that number. Yes, I said that right. 0779 481 822. So I guess the adverts aren't going to kick in, so I will carry on talking because I'm not sure if they are going to take place now. So I had a question about I had an elderly neighbour, so I guess this is what your role is to try and prevent happening. She was quite elderly, and the adverts have kicked in. Okay, then.
Inspiring, engaging, educating. This is Inspire FM.
Why do Tops Pizza deliver the top pizzas in Luton and Dunstable?
For a start, all the toppings are 100% halal and Tops use fresh dough every day. Then there's the cheese, the highest quality available. And when it comes to food preparation, cleanliness is taken as part of our faith. So that just leaves the taste, choice, and great offers, including buy one, get one free on all medium, large, and extra large pizzas. Tops Pizzas, Wellington Street, LU1 5AA. Order online, topspizza.com or via Just Eat. Download our app or call 01582 72 5000.
Leagrave Heating Supplies. With over 20 years of experience, we're the largest independent plumbers merchant in the area, specialising in all types of plumbing and heating, as well as combination boilers and megaflow cylinders. Whether you need a new bathroom or a complete new heating system, LHS is the place. Come along to our brand new bathroom showroom at Unit 1, 3 Chorlend Lane, Luton, to see the latest range of quality bathrooms. Or log on to leagrave.net. We're an Interpart-approved stockist for all genuine spares. Our new store in Bedford is now also fully opened. Leagrave Heating Supplies. Call Luton 84 86 88.
Picture, if you will, a small local business navigating their way through these tough economic times. They wait for the phone to ring, but it never happens. They thought they could save money by not advertising, and now they've been forgotten. They're trapped in the has-been zone.
Don't let your business get lost in the has-been zone. Remind your customers that you're still around to deliver your products and services with a low-cost, effective and ear-catching radio campaign here on Inspire FM. For details, visit inspirefm.org, then contact us.
How many times have you needed urgent medical supplies but don't know where to go? At Harris Pharmacy, we take pride in delivering a high-level healthcare to our community. This is why we have services such as private one-to-one consultation, free prescription ordering from GP and delivery to your home, mobility aids such as providing wheelchairs and many other items for everyday use. Call us today on free phone 0800 458 2850 to discuss your medical needs. We are open from 9 a.m. till 7 p.m. Monday to Friday and 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. on Saturdays. Harris Pharmacy, 165 A/B, Dunstable Road, Luton.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मेरा नाम किरण है। कोट कश्मीर ऑर्फन्स रिलीफ ट्रस्ट मेरा एक खूबसूरत घर है जहां मेरे साथ सैकड़ों यतीम और बेसहारा बच्चों की तालीम, तरबियत और पुरसुकून माहौल में परवरिश हो रही है, और ये सब कुछ आपके तावन से मुमकिन है। अल्लाह से दुआ है कि अल्लाह करीम आपको सदा सलामत रखे और उम्मीद है कि आप इसी तरह अपना प्यार, मोहब्बत और तावन जारी रखेंगे। कोट UK ऑफिस 0300123774 court.org.uk.
Are you an avid bookworm? Or maybe you love books but just struggle to find the time to read? Then you need to tune into the Book Club Show on Inspire FM with Sister Imrana, where we'll be discussing a fab selection of books with special studio guests. Join us every Tuesday morning from 10 till 11 to inspire imagination and rekindle your love for reading. Don't forget, the Book Club Show every Tuesday morning, 10 till 11, on your very own... From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 10:30.
Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Mother's Planet. It's Friday, 13th of October, and the time has now just gone 10:30. Apologies, listeners, for the advert error earlier in the show. I will have a firm word with Brother Tariq later on about that. So, yes, I'm sorry, Mohammed, we had an interruption with the adverts kicking in sooner than I thought. So, yes, I have Mohammed Rahman this morning with me. He's from Keech Hospice. He's an acting community connector. And we have been talking about his role and the services that Keech Hospice provides. And just before the adverts kicked in, I asked Mohammed the question about how he tackles the challenges around the emotion of talking about death and how people are preparing for this in the community. And I did like your answer there about how it's your faith that's kept you grounded. And I guess I was about to talk about an elderly friend that I had who passed away, and she always thought about reviewing her will but never got the chance because she just said, oh, I'll do it another day. And sadly, when she did pass away, it was only to her family only learned that the solicitors that was holding on to her will actually shut down 10 years ago, and they'd passed it on to another one, and so her documents were lost. So, I guess in a way this is what you were trying to prevent happening.
Yeah, so for not just the patient having that will present, but informing the loved ones or the family members and friends of it, so they're aware of that will, just an example. So what matters to those individuals, being aware of those rather than having our own, like, okay, we want to do it this way or that way.
Yes, yeah. And I guess from an Islamic perspective, again, an ignorance from my side when it comes to will writing, you just think, oh, when I'm old, or when it needs to be done. So, what's your views on that, will writing?
Yeah, generally that's the case as well. Even having these conversations, individuals think that it's mainly for the elderly, but it's for a conversation for all, from children, young adults, male, female, everyone, faith, non-faith, to have these conversations about what matters to them. And will, the question that you answered, Islamically, it's a fard upon every single individual. So, when a person goes for Hajj, one of the things that they're meant to do is write a will. But what tends to happen within the South Asian community, which I've, experienced as well, is that when you mention will, they're like, okay, so you want me to die, you're going to take my things. We're saying, no, that's not the case. You just want to know what you want so we can, act upon those wishes and prevent, anything negative happening,
yes,
which
absolutely.
we witness today, unfortunately, within all communities.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's a sad world that we live in, but greed is terrible. And, you don't know how it's going to be. And, I guess preparation is important. And the fact that, it's something that should be thought by all. It's given me a bit of food for thought as well there about the will
and
service.
It's amazing, in the Quran, generally Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he mentions a command, he just mentions it. So for example, praise to Allah, give zakat, do hajj, but no detail. So there's no detail on how to pray salah or how much to give zakat or the acts of hajj or fasting, etc. It's generally through the hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we come to know the details. But regarding wasiyah, which is the will, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned it in explicit detail. So it just shows how important it is.
Yes. Wow, I didn't know that. There's something I've just learnt there. Thank you for that. So I guess we've talked about the challenges that you faced during your role, and I guess you've had some uplifting moments. You've had some positive moments as well. Can you share some of those?
Example of those? Sure. Positive moment, having the first ever South Asian tour in Keech Hospice Care. I did a presentation at University of Bedfordshire twice, explaining my work and role and the workshops that we provide. An upcoming positive is the workshops that we're going to deliver. And I've seen more engagement with the community and, the awareness of the community. It's coming up, what Keech is and what we do and what we provide.
And I guess that's what the listeners are really keen to hear about now, these upcoming, this upcoming workshop, No Barriers Here. So it's an upcoming workshop that we run by yourself. It's by yourself, it's been, right?
Yes.
And it is for the community. And I'm intrigued to learn a little about where the name came from, No Barriers Here. It's interesting.
So it was developed by two individuals from Birmingham.
Okay.
Jed and Gemma. So they're part of, now it's called Birmingham Hospice.
Okay.
So they wanted to create something to facilitate conversations about advanced care planning, death, dying, bereavement, all these elements. And they initially rolled it out to those with learning difficulties. And it was a success. So no one really asked those individuals of what matters to them, the marginalized in healthcare, those individuals. So that's where the name came up from, that no barriers here, meaning that anybody has a say in what matters to them.
So this workshop, talk me through a little bit about the workshop, the concept around this workshop. I mean, what was the idea from your side, because you'll be running the workshop? What was the idea or thinking behind it? What was it that you are hoping to achieve from these workshops?
So Jed and Gemma, they provide training for facilitators. So I'm one of the facilitators of No Barriers Here. So it's using another method to hold those conversations. And it's a way to have this conversation without speaking. It's just expressing oneself, those individuals being in their own zone and expressing themselves through arts and crafts. And, it consists of 3 workshops. So the first workshop is Who Am I and What is Important to Me? That's the title. So everything about you, you express. And the second workshop is Who are the important people in your life to help make decisions for you? Where would you like to be cared? Who would you like to be, care for? The most important things about your future care, your funeral plans. So it gives a bit more depth. And then the final workshop is about the legacy and what you want to leave behind.
Okay. So quite intense workshops there. And just to ask, these workshops, are they running for individuals themselves, or can it be for somebody that's saying, actually, I've got somebody that requires this kind of care and I'm clueless as to what advice I can offer them? So can anyone attend? Anyone
can attend, and then you'll gain some knowledge
yourself,
or some inspiration on how to tackle things. And then you can go to those key organizations, Keech, Hospice Care, us, and we can help you.
So yes, Mashallah, that's really good. So, I mean, what can the participants expect from these workshops? Will there be any things that they'll need to bring, any materials they'll need to provide themselves? Are there forms to fill?
The only form is that you sign up online.
Okay.
Apart from that, there's nothing else. Everything is provided, and all 3 workshops are free. And it's a nice, I should have brought one in so you could have seen one actually. It's a massive box.
Okay.
And it's got all these different arts and crafts in it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's all free. And you do the workshops, and at the end of it, you take it away.
It's amazing, isn't it, really? And I guess maybe when you were doing the training, this is something that you picked up on, because back in lockdown, things were horrific. And I know that Sister Shamiza, who also runs radio shows on Inspire FM, had organised through another community project doing embroidery. It was an embroidery project, and it was pitched out to the women of the community about how to express their feelings through lockdown. And it was just sewing, and I actually took part in this, and there was just so many changes that happened in my life. Firstly was I had a lockdown baby and no family to support me because we couldn't see each other. And so I got sewing, and the expressions and the emotions and the feelings at the end. When I had made what I want, I didn't want to part from it. I felt very attached to it. So again, this art box that you have, you'd think art and death, what's the link? But actually there is a link. And do you find that more kinesthetic work like that, where you're doing hands-on activities, gets people to talk more?
Yeah, definitely. And they express things, especially how the workshop started. So it started actually in lockdown. And the first group, it was targeted towards those with learning difficulties. So those maybe couldn't speak well, could understand well. So, and then for them to express what matters to them, where their families were completely unaware of, it shows the success of that.
So art is the way forward, really. So, would you say you're quite artistic or creative?
I think I have that.
Oh, good. So you do know that you're going to have a demo up before you actually pitch it to the people that come to the workshops. That's how it works. So you have to have a demo box of, this is what I created earlier. So, just
show and tell.
Yes, that's
I did that actually in University of Bedfordshire, which was part of my presentation. And, the artwork that I did, I questioned them on it.
Okay.
So what do you think that this means? And I did it in the third person. I never said it was mine. I said that this individual has given me permission to share this, just in case if there were any negative comments.
So any students tuned in this morning, there you go. So I guess you're probably worried about how it's like when I draw stick people. I don't actually draw people. So I'll be like, well, I'm terrible at drawing. So you just didn't want to admit it, really. So you thought, I'm not going to take any slack for this. I'm sure it was good. So the art is the side of...
They were amazed about how much detail there was on a single drawing, and what that color or the way someone drew it, or the material that they used, what it meant.
Yes. So when you run these workshops, they get to take that box home?
Yes.
Is that theirs? Or
that's for them to keep. And, that's one step towards the advanced care planning. Wow. All those points that I mentioned of the holistic care. And then for them to take it more forward and discuss with their families and have a plan in place.
And this is the first time you're running this
This
workshop?
is the first workshop that I will be running, yes, in Luton, yes.
So depending on the success of this, would there be subsequent ones, do you think?
Definitely. I think there will be success, definitely, especially word of mouth, those individuals that attend the workshops. For example, myself going for that training, it's opened my eyes up to all this holistic care that, maybe they were there, but it triggered those thoughts.
Yeah, so just checking to see we haven't got any messages come through. No. As we said, the taboo around talking about end of life care. So I guess the having the arts and crafts was the reasoning behind, to try and ease people into talking about it.
Yes, definitely is a tool for easing those conversations. When I say conversations, expressions of what, or expressing themselves and what matters to them, and all those points that I mentioned, and especially those workshops are catered around that. What's important to you, who's your next of kin. There's individuals that the next of kin wasn't family members, it was a nurse that was taking care of them. They wanted them because they felt that nurse understood them better than the family members. And these workshops are just about yourself, not about what your family wants or what the community wants. It's about what you want.
So I mean, even that in itself, because it's a great platform, and it's amazing that something like this is being facilitated, where people have that platform to express what they actually want, and it's not what my family would like, or what's the done thing, or the cultural thing, or the custom thing. But how did you build that gap between this individual wants this, and I know it's not part of your culture, and I know it's not something that you've done as a family tradition, but you have to respect this? How do you tackle that?
It's a tough one. It's, again, once these plans, advanced care planning, or these notes have been made by an individual, it's the step towards having that conversation with their family members and, coming to an understanding. And in the example that I gave working as a chaplain, where that mother called me, so we did come to an understanding within the community where we said, okay, let her bathe her child first. And then if you want the males, so that mother is at peace. And, they were readily accepted that. So I think, the community is open-minded. It's just having those conversations.
Yes.
I think once individuals have those conversations, then it's all plain sailing.
Yeah, and I guess it's down to having that right, because it's that individual, it's their right. So honoring that right as well, and letting them. But it's also, and I am sure you haven't had that obstacle yet, but sometimes they could have requests that might be a bit outside of the grounds of faith. So how do you tackle that?
It depends, really. So it actually depends on what the request is. So generally, the Muslim ruling is where you die, you get buried, and the burial should be as soon as possible. And before, this was long before, there was Muslim organizations, and in Luton we're so lucky to have all these burial services from Berry Park to Jalalabad to Westbourne Road. In certain towns there's none, and they rely on others. And before that, they would send their loved ones back home to be buried because there was no services available, or they were unaware if we can bury our loved ones here or not, according to our beliefs and traditions. And for certain families, that's still the case. And that could either be because they think that, for example, their grandmother's or grandfather is back home already, and they want their spouse to be also buried back home. But sometimes that's not the case.
Yeah.
And, having this conversation, you'll find out that, no, they want to be probably buried here.
Yeah.
So they can be visited by their loved ones.
Yeah. And that's a really big thing, because I have a friend whose husband lost his parents. I think they were like mother passed away, and then a few months later his father passed away, but he was quite young when it happened. And knee-jerk reaction was to bury them back in Pakistan, and he arranged for all of that to happen and never went back. And I think it was only after about 20 years he went back, and she said he came back and he cried, saying that, I wish I had been a bit more assertive about how I did this, and I had buried them here, because to go there, and you don't have to stand over a gravestone to pray for that person.
No.
But it's just that connection, and just making, frequenting the graveyard and going and tidying it up and seeing it and doing whatever. It's just that comfort that people seek from it. He missed out on that. So, and again, it's educating people around that.
And it's, having this conversation before that situation, because at that moment, emotions are high. And, generally people are not thinking straight. You need outsiders to help you navigate through that process of burial, paying for it, all these things.
Yeah.
But if you had a plan in place, the family can concentrate on those emotions and tackle those emotions and, proceed with those arrangements more easily. Yes,
absolutely. And, things like this where, they're being buried somewhere where, it's going to be impossible to go and see is something that I guess is important. So we talked about how emotional it is to talk about end of life care and things like that. People shut down and have emotional ache. There's an extreme. How do you deal with the extreme emotions? You have people that would just, I don't know if you've encountered that now because it's a new service and you're trying to make people aware of it, but have you had an experience where you've gone and, somebody has passed away and you need to try and make them logically see sense to say, right, these are the steps, these are the protocols?
Myself have gone through this. I think everyone goes through that moment of, just blank, lost. A moment in my life last year, it was the most challenging. I lost my grandma and auntie in the space of 1 week. 1 week. And they were both at 2 separate wards in the same hospital.
Wow.
So my grandma's daughter-in-law, both of them in 1 week. So you can imagine the emotional toll that had on the family. We buried my grandma, and which was, quite fast, meaning the process, we did it within 1 day, alhamdulillah. And this was not in Luton. That's what made more issues, because it was a town near Manchester, and the how I mentioned in Luton, we're very lucky to have all these services. They don't have all those services. They rely on other towns. And then for my grandma, for my auntie, it took a week, back and forth with the doctors and the burials, and you just take a moment and you pause, and then you reflect on the line that everyone says when someone passes away, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Such a powerful verse that Allah says, to Allah we belong and to Him to return. And the deeper reminder of that is the first part, inna lillahi, is that Allah owns everything. He gave it to us in the first place, and He's taking that gift back. And then it continues, wa inna ilayhi raji'un, that to Allah we return. Allah is consoling us. He's saying that don't worry, you will meet again, and you will meet under better circumstances. So reflecting, that's such a powerful line. So I reflect on that. And, those who have similar faith to me, we reflect on that together and then move forward.
Yeah, mashallah. That's a very good way of looking at that, because sometimes it's lip service. People say it without thought, but actually to think about that statement there in, that ayah from the Quran is quite deep and very, very meaningful. So I guess with time on our hands here, listeners will probably want to know a bit more about how they can register a place on the workshop, and the times and the dates and location.
Definitely. So firstly, it's free. So don't worry about that. It's free. You can find out more information either by calling myself on 01582 497 886, or calling directly to Keech Hospice Care. I get 01582 492 339. You can email me at Mohammed Rahman at keech.org.uk, or you can go directly to Keech Hospice Care website, where it can be also translated to any language.
Wow.
And generally the link for booking is through Eventbrite. But if you again, like I mentioned, you can email me directly and I can reserve your spot. It's going to take place in Luton Central Library on Tuesday 17th, Tuesday 24th, and Tuesday 31st of October.
Okay.
Those 3 consecutive workshops. And it's going to be between 11 till 12:30.
Okay, so it's daytime.
Daytime, yes.
That's nice to know. And is there a maximum capacity for the workshop?
Yes, 10.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you need to get booked up. So, and it's important that people register. They can't just turn up.
Can't just turn up. You need to register so we can provide you the equipment, and we know who's going to attend. And you need to attend all 3.
Okay, that's the other key.
Yeah, all 3 have to be attended.
So all 3 will need to be attended, and it's running on the 17th, 24th.
Tuesday 17th of October, Tuesday 24th of October, and Tuesday 31st of October at Luton Central Library between 11 and 12:30.
Okay, brilliant. So listeners, do keep an eye out on that. And any contact numbers and details that Mohammed has shared there. If you didn't have pen and paper to hand, fear not. I will try and get these uploaded onto the Facebook page of the show, where all those contact details can be posted. But otherwise, it's available on the Keech Hospice website.
Or you can search it up directly on Eventbrite. You'll find it.
Okay, there you go. So plenty of ways to find out how to get onto that workshop there. Mohammed, it's the end of the show. I just want to say a huge thank you for your time this morning. It's been great, and actually not as morbid as I thought it would be. So it's not, I'm not walking away feeling very unhappy. It's education at the end
education at the end of the day, yeah.
And I think that's the key thing. And I think that's the message that we should be sending out to all the listeners, that we need to educate ourselves and prepare ourselves, because we are not all here forever. And it's just making sure that everything is in place of how we want it, because regret is terrible.
Yeah.
So listeners, again, thank you for the time that you've given me. And I'm no doubt that listeners who are able to take something productive from the show. My quote for today: be there for others, but never leave yourself behind. Jummah Mubarak and Assalamu Alaikum.